For 250 years, Americans have enjoyed the unfettered right to practice their faith as they choose. Now they don't. It happened overnight. Last month, Christians across the country were legally prohibited from celebrating Easter in their own churches. The national media barely noted it. How exactly is this happening? Well, it turns out that's not clear. Strangely, not very many people have asked. Politicians have no right to do any of this. They cannot make it illegal for people to go to religious services. The Constitution of the United States expressly prohibits that. The words could not be clearer. The First Amendment explicitly prevents government from making any law that inhibits the exercise of religious faith. That's not a detail or a footnote. It is a cornerstone of our history and of our legal system. Millions of people, probably your ancestors, fled to this country from around the world precisely because our Bill of Rights gave them this guarantee. It's why this country was founded. And in a moment, it's gone. We're joined now by Fox's senior judicial analyst, Judge Andrew Napolitano, a legitimate expert on the Bill of Rights. Judge, thanks so much for coming on. So I'm sorry to be fixated on this one question because I can't get it out of my mind. Is it possible in this country, under our system, the one we've lived under for 250 years, for a politician to say, I'm just not obeying the Constitution, explicit rights guaranteed there, and I'm going to take them away? How is that allowed?
Well, it will be allowed if the politician believes he can get away with it because the public accepts the illusion of safety rather than the idea of liberty, for which many of our wars have been fought and many of our forebears have died in order to preserve the liberties, which now have been taken away by these politicians because they think they know what's better for us than we know for ourselves. They're not interested in choice. They're not interested in the Bill of Rights. They're not interested in their oath to uphold the Bill of Rights. Tucker, the constitutional guarantees, free speech, free press, the right to assemble, the right to worship, are only as good as the human beings in whose hands we have reposed the Constitution for safekeeping.
That's right.
And the governors that you have referred to in Maine, in New Jersey, in Illinois, in California, have no regard for the Constitution because they have public sentiment behind them, because they've scared the daylight out of the public, and very few people, unlike the mayor, God bless him, he's willing to do this, are willing to stand up and say, enough.
Then may I ask a question? If our politicians have no regard for the Bill of Rights, upon which the country is founded, of course, then why should the rest of us have any regard for their orders? I mean, it's not their country. They don't own it. It's our country. So why are we obeying them if they're contravening our Bill of Rights?
We have no obligation to obey them. Governors don't write the law and don't assess punishments. Only legislatures do. Every single one of the 50 governors in this state, in this country, has written new laws and assessed new punishment utterly and totally without authority to do so. Even if the state legislatures of the states of which they're the governors had authorized them to do it, that legislation would be invalid because, as you have pointed out, it directly contravenes guarantees in the Bill of Rights. And every one of those governors, when they became governor, took an oath not only to their state law and their state constitutions, but to the federal constitution as well, which includes the Bill of Rights. They have forgotten it. They've looked the other way. They are just interested in telling people how to live because they can get away with it. It will take a determined minority, like the mayor of Newport Beach, like some of the people that you and I know, pushing hard to point out how they're violating what we have hired them to do, because the majority is willing to accept this nonsense and believes it's the law. I go into a supermarket to buy a newspaper. The sign says, it's the law. You can't come in here without a mask. I said to the owner, you can tell me I have to wear a mask because you own this business. And if you think my not wearing a mask will harm your business, you have the right to keep me out. But there is no law that says I have to wear the mask. There's just the governor's musings and whims. That's all it is.
I can't control myself. I've got to say shame on many of our religious leaders for following these illegitimate orders and taking the orders from the government. That's not what they should be doing, for sure. Judge Napolitano, great to see you tonight. Thank you so much.
Pleasure.